views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
In the 1960s, the group recording of Will You Love Me Tomorrow became the best-selling song in the country. By 1963, this group of sensational female singers recorded hits after hits, including Dedicated to the One I Love, Baby It's You, Soldier Boy, and one of their most famous songs, Mama Said. Beverly Lee of the Shirelles joins me live in studio next, right here on Perspectives, with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime. And of course, we thank you for joining us. And listen, you can catch Perspectives every week here on BronxNet's Channel 67. And if you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 33. And anytime on BronxNet.org. And we, of course, encourage you, stay connected to us via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my professional page, Daren C. Jaime on Facebook. Find ways, DC Jaime 23. We'll get you connected so we can hear your perspective and we can also all stay connected. Well, I want to kick off the show in a very special way, talking about a very special lady who's connected to a very special group. The all-girl group was formed in 1958 across the bridge in Passaic, New Jersey. Now, according to the AllMusic.com, the group were the first major female vocal group of the rock era, defining the so-called girl group sound with their blend of pop, rock, R&B, doo-wop, and smooth uptown soul. Their hits included Dedicated to the One I Love, Baby It's You, Soldier Boy, and Mama Said. And I'm privileged, honored to have one of the original members of the group with me on the show today. It's Beverly Lee of the Shirelles. And hello.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to
hello.
Perspectives.
I am so happy to be here with you.
We are honored to have you. I'm honored to have you. Thank you for coming.
It's my honor, really.
Oh, it's great. And so talk to me. I mean, we're talking now about the Shirelles in the year 2019.
Right.
And the most important thing is that a group of your stature, and you're being one of the original cast members, still remains relevant today. Talk to me about how do you feel you remain relevant through all of this?
Well, we stay true to ourselves, and we stay true to our fans, and they follow us. But we are bringing our music to the younger generation because we did re-record some songs, and we updated them. Like Tonight's the Night is like a club song. And Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, Carole King has to hear that song because it is an awesome arrangement. And Soldier Boy we did over. That's our tribute to the vets because, I'm a soldier girl at heart.
Ah, really?
But we redid the music, and it's going to make it very, very relevant today. But it never lost its meaning because we have the sound, and the lyrics are still meaningful.
Did you ever get a thought when you first got started? We talked about when you first got started. 1963, you're out there, you're doing it.
Oh.
Did you think that you would be where you are today?
Never. We were young school girls until we became 21, and we were having fun. We loved what we did. We were troopers. We were adventurous. We loved to travel, and it was just a blast for us. But we never thought that it would come to this point because I was raised in Passaic, born and raised in Passaic. I'm Jersey born, Jersey proud, and lived in the projects, went to Passaic High School, out of Passaic High School. All of a sudden, I'm traveling all over the world. God brought 4 young ladies together, I believe, and let us travel throughout the world, touching people's lives and changing people's lives.
How'd you guys get together?
In high school, we were fooling around in gym. Gym teacher said, do this show, field gym. Quite naturally, we opted to do the show. Had a classmate in the auditorium, and her mother, Florence Greenberg, owned a record company. And she asked us to let her mom hear the song. We got tired of her chasing us. Finally, we said yes. Her mom heard the song and offered us a contract. And when we were offered the contract, we all told our parents, you're the only one who didn't sign, to get them to sign, because they didn't want to sign. They knew nothing about show business.
Wow. And so you got them to sign the story, and the story remains and is told till this day.
Yes.
Looking back right now, for you, do you say, you know, well, let me ask, I'll come another way. Talk to me about the most memorable, out of all your years of doing this, what's the most memorable for you?
Oh, there's so many. But the one, like performing in 1963, we did the first integrated show in Birmingham, Alabama. And we're on stage, and to my left is Dr. Martin Luther King. And it was a very well-organized show. There was a chartered plane that brought us down from Agba, Joey Adams. And the Ku Klux Klan had marched before we got there. And they had to guard the plane. We couldn't leave the hotel. We stayed at the Gaston Motel in Birmingham. And it was scary, but we knew that God would take care of us. And Dr. King was the leader that he was. He led the cavalcade of cars from the airport to the hotel, and they made sure we were well taken care of.
Wow, I want to come back and talk about that after the break a little bit, because that was doing music during some really rough times, and I want to get into that in a little while. But I also want to talk to you about, you know, career-wise, right? You got many hits. When you think about the hits that you made, how did you know, or did you know that, hey, we got a hit right here?
We never thought that way either. We had Luther Dixon was our producer. Luther had an ear for music and for writing and being very creative. He knew how to get the best out of us. When he took us into the studio, he said, do this, do that, or he would come up with another concept. But he knew how to choose the right material for us, because when we were presented with Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, we did not like it. We heard a demo by Carole King, and it was real twangy, and, you know, she sang it. And we said, you know, we don't want to do it. He said, you're going to do it. When we went into the studio, there were strings and, you know, this big orchestra, and we heard the music start, and it was beautiful. Fell in love with the song.
You knew it was going to be a hit then.
And she played kettle drums on it, because she didn't like the way the guy was playing.
Is that right?
Yeah, so we women were taking charge in those days.
Back in the day, yeah. You're doing it big.
Yeah.
So we talk about Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow. Talk to me a little bit about some of the other music that you made so far, and the one song that really sticks special to you.
It would be a toss-up between Soulja Boy and Will You Love Me Tomorrow. Soulja Boy I love because it was the song that was the anchor to many loved ones who were apart at the time. And we heard so many stories that were touching, you know, but the guys went through and they were in the trenches and they were playing that song, and it kept them anchored to their loved ones. And we invite the guys on a stage when we perform it, and it's very moving because they come up and they're so proud, and their eyes are full of tears, and sometimes I'm crying. But I always acknowledge the guys from Vietnam, because I do not like the way they were treated when they were brought home. And I salute them, and I always tell them, welcome home, Soulja Boy, job well done.
We'll come back and take a quick break, talk more with Beverly Lee, one of the original members of the Shirelles. Coming up, she talked a little bit about Dr. King. What was it like to make music during a time of segregation? She'll explain that when we return here on Perspectives. And in case you're just joining us, we welcome you back to Perspectives. We want to let you know we have a very special guest in studio. An honor to have the legendary Miss Beverly Lee here with us. She's one of the original members of the Shirelles. And if you want to know, if you have to do some history, just go back and know this. During the years 1960 to 1963, they had 6 singles in the top 10, and they continued to make hit music. And I was sharing a little bit, but I started before I went to the break, talking about the timing, right?
Right.
Here you are making hit music, the 60s, 1963, and America is not what America is today.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
Listen, when in the day, in the North, they would have our photos on our albums, and in the South, they would have drawings. So there was a demand for us to come down south and perform because they loved our music. When we went there, they had no idea we were black. And since we got there, they had to let us perform. We performed at the first segregated college in Selma, Alabama. And it opened the doors for other black artists to come there. And the kids just loved our music. So we were the bridge between white and blacks with our music.
And when you talk about white and blacks, obviously we know segregation was very intense.
Oh, yes.
Lives were lost. And at the same time, your music also at the time provided some comfort to a lot of people who were really going through what they describe as the worst time of their life.
That's right. I've had people tell me they put on our music when they had any kind of tragedy that happened in their life, how it lifted them up. I got a letter from a soldier that was in Afghanistan, and he wrote the most beautiful letter saying how I made this dude so happy, the joy that we brought to him, and it just made my day.
How did you navigate? What was the biggest thing in being able to navigate that? Because, you know, whites certainly didn't like blacks, and certainly if you're a black and becoming a celebrity, that was a problem as well.
Well, you know, when you're a black celebrity, you're a different type of black. So you're treated a little bit differently. But when we went there, I'd never seen white fountains and colored fountains for drinking water and a separation for bathrooms because I was born in Jersey. When we went on our first tour, I went into this restaurant and I tried to place an order, and the man was staring at me like I was from Mars when I walked in the door. And he said, "I can't do that." I said, "Why not?" He said, "I can't do it." I said, "Why not?" He said, "I can't take your order because you're colored." And I was flabbergasted. I had never encountered that before.
How'd you overcome that?
Well, I left because, you know, you never know. They might have put something in your food, so I was better off.
Right. And so you talked a little bit about Dr. King, right?
Yes.
And you talked about the fact that, you know, you sang in a very powerful time that he actually accompanied and made sure that you guys were well taken care of.
Right.
Did you ever get a sense while you were singing that there would be this segregation lifted?
Yes, I always felt God was on the side of civil rights. That show that we did was to raise funds for the people from Alabama to go for the March on Washington. And we also did one at the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia with Georgie Woods, and that was raising funds for the people from Philadelphia. So at the time, we were making history and didn't know it, you know, involved in civil rights. But whenever there was a need, they would always call on the Shirelles, if it was for AIDS, if it was for cancer. I'm involved in mental health, so where there's a need, you'll see me there.
Yeah. And they still call on the Shirelles.
Yes.
So you're an original cast member, but the Shirelles are still alive and well. Talk to us about what's going on now.
Still working. I'm working on some gigs for Illinois and Florida. I'm working on a book.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute.
Oh, yes.
So I guess I'll talk about it now then. So the book, it's based on?
My life as a Shirelle. It's inspirational, it's historical, it's educational, there's humor, there's a little drama, you know, there's a little.
It's got to be some drama.
And there's some original poems in there that I wrote, you know, about what's going on in the world today and how it's affecting people. So it's a mixture of many things, but I think people will really be uplifted by it.
When I look at groups today, one of the things that makes me sad probably is the fact that they have this great potential, but they don't stick together. But you've been able to keep that glue together for years.
I never left the group. I love the group. I love performing as a Shirelle. I love people. It's a gift from God. To me, that's our platform. I speak about the Lord on stage. And, you know, some of the promoters don't like it, but God is good to me, and God has brought me this far, so I'm going to acknowledge God.
And when you talk about being on stage, you know, how different is it? You know, you don't have the original cast, but then you're there and you got a new group of people. Talk to us about that kind of marriage.
Well, it's a nice marriage. You know, people marry, divorce, and you get someone else, and it goes to another level. So that's
Right.
where it's at. I have some wonderful ladies with me. Diane's been with me for almost 35 years now, and she's a sweetheart. I call her baby sis.
And so for you, you still like touring?
Yes. But I told you we're working on some gigs for Illinois and Florida. I'm looking at some California gigs. I'm going to go to New Mexico. You name it, we're going to be there.
I want to talk about some people who actually, you know, I've got this right here. It says, you know, the Shirelles taught me how to move on stage.
yeah.
That comes from Dionne Warwick.
Dion was the fourth Shirelle at one time. You know, when with the original Shirelles, when Shirley was pregnant, Dion filled in as a Shirelle. And while Shirley was pregnant, nobody knew who was pregnant because we all wore maternity outfits. But when Dion filled in, we taught her how to move, and she was a wonderful lady. You know, we loved her as a sister. We still visit with each other, and we toured with her in Paris. We were at the Olympia Theater, and it was an international show. It was Dionne Warwick, Shirelles, and Stevie Wonder. And that little Stevie Wonder, I will tell people, Stevie could see. Every time we were getting ready to change clothes, who came in the door but Stevie Wonder? I said, Stevie, I don't care what people say, you can see, honey.
Stevie Wonder. Let me talk about another person. They say the Shirelles are my favorite singing group, none other than the legendary John Lennon.
Yes. When we were in England, some of the bands would talk to us, do you know the Beatles? I said, the Beatles. And, you know, I said, I love the Beatles, not knowing that they had seen us perform and that John had said we were his favorite group. And when he came to America, they wanted to meet us, but at the time they kept us on the road and we could not go to meet with them. But I do know one thing. I had a little light crush on John.
Is that
And
right?
if I had met him, Oko wouldn't have got him.
He was your man.
What's the name? Yoko? I might
Yoko
be,
Ono?
yeah, I'm bad on names.
Yeah, Yoko Ono.
Yoko, yes.
Yeah, you
I
coulda-
said Oko.
yeah.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. She got him. It's all right. And life goes on.
Amen.
There it is. And for you, I want to ask about 1996, right? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I think that's, if you're in the business, that's every person's dream, right?
It was an awesome experience, but you know what? Harry Winston was nice to Mother.
Is that right?
They draped me in over $600,000 worth of diamonds. And my Aunt Maisie went with me to the event. And when I came out, you know, dressed in my gown and all the jewelry, she said, what'd you do? You hit the number? I said, no. But I had security like you wouldn't believe. And it was an awesome experience.
To be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to look back now and say, hey, you know what? I'm there. I could go back and take kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. I could take Passaic High School. I'm here.
And I would ask people to go, when they're in Ohio, to go there because it's a wonderful building. They preserve what the artists have given them, and it's very, very educational.
So, for someone right now who's watching, I always talk about music as an art and as a passion, right? It became your art, it became your passion, it became your career, and we know you to be this legendary singer based on music. But when it comes to schools, sometimes music, the arts, they get cut out of the budget.
Right.
What do you say to people about music and the pathway that it's created for you?
We let them know, first of all, that it all began in school, so the kids will stay in school. And we tell them if they have any interest, I will tell them in a minute, make sure you learn the business. There's a lot of business. There's a lot of show, and there's a lot of fluff, and a lot of people who are opportunists. So you have to be very, very careful, and you make sure that you sign your own checks. And music being taken out of school, that hurts me because when I was in grade school, they took us on a field trip, and I heard this beautiful music I found out later on was Gershwin. It was Rhapsody in Blue. So I've always had good music in my life. I grew up in a household. My grandmother was very spiritual with her gospels. My mother, and aunts would play Dinah Washington, Sarah Vaughan, Little Esther, you know. So I heard good music. And my Uncle Nate, he was a jazz musician.
And for you listening, who did you listen to growing?
I was listening to Little Anthony and the Imperials, the Chantels, the Heartbeats, the Coasters, and Carl Gardner and I became friends after that. I would visit him and his wife in Florida.
And what are you listening to now?
Mainly gospel, but I still, every now and then, now I was running across some albums, and Aretha, I want to hear Call Me, If Ever I Would Leave You, Etta James at Last. I love that music. It's good music.
It will always be good.
And the Motown music.
Will always be good music.
Yes.
So, what's the question that people always ask you the most? I mean, when they get an opportunity to meet you, obviously a lot of things come through people's minds. What's the question they ask you most?
There's a lot of wild questions. Some of them I won't even talk about, but they want to know how do we still keep doing the songs and enjoy what we're doing?
Right.
But they don't realize each night we have a different audience. You're in a different mindset. When you gel with that band, it's a different level that you're taken to, and you realize that you're touching people's lives. When we look out in the audience and see people holding hands because they hear at the beginning of Will You Love Me Tomorrow or Dedicated to the One I Love, and it's bringing people together, and that's what our music is about. Unity and love, and you could dance to it. It was good music. You didn't have to. Today they're like acrobats, and it looked like they're having an atomic fit. But you could slow drag. You lay your head on his shoulder, like Paul Anka said. It was a nice era.
Yeah, and this era that we live in right now, do you cringe sometimes with some of the things that you see and hear?
I said, wow, you know, I never thought it would come to this, but that's why we're trying to gear the kids back to the music of our era. And I'm hoping like someone like a Mary J. Blige would do some of the songs.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
I could hear her doing That Last or some of the Aretha songs. And they could do Will You Love Me Tomorrow, too.
I was going to ask about who would you like to sing your songs. I'm going to talk about that when I can return here on Perspectives. Our guest is Beverly Lee. Stay with us. We'll come right back in a few. Our guest in studio, the legendary Beverly Lee, original member of the Shirelles, sharing with us. And she's hard at work these days, and you're working on the book, huh?
Yes, Lord.
Keeping it going, and a lot of things to write about.
It's just coming, and I'm just really pleased at the way it's turning out because it's telling I'm telling God's story. It's not my story. This is what God gave to us as for singers, but we're sharing it with the world so people will know what God could do. There's nothing impossible with God.
Absolutely, and it's an experience. I mean,
Yes.
it's a life body of work that you'll be able to share with people. You know, sometimes you go to awards, and we just recently saw like the BET Awards, the MTV Awards, whatever you call them, the award shows. They always have somebody they pay tribute to.
Right.
And as they have somebody they pay tribute to, there's always somebody that sings for them. So with all your accomplishments, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all the great stuff, if we had you up there and you wanted somebody to sing your music, who would it be?
You know, En Vogue did do it when Dionne Warwick honored us at the Soul of American Music, and they were awesome. But I would like to see one of the little male groups do I Met Him on Sunday.
Really?
But number one, we wrote it.
Right.
But we have the publishing. Hello.
And talk, I mean, well, when I think about it, that's another question I want to bring to the stage, is a lot of times people lose their music.
Oh, tell me about it.
You were able to keep a lot.
Yes, we were in a position where we could write, like, and when we went in the studio to do Mama Said, Luther Dixon and Willie Denson had the music down, and they just had 4 bars of music, and there was nothing there, and we're listening to it. And he was looking a little puzzled. And I started singing that little high part, and Doris started harmonizing with me, and that brought that in, and so it pulled it all together.
And then it goes from there.
Yes.
So, what do you want people to look back and remember the Shirelles? What do you want them to know?
That we were honored to have touched their lives. We thank them for buying our music, and I thank them always for passing the music down to the younger generation, because a lot of young kids come up and ask for requests, and it makes us feel good.
And when you think about it, you know, we talk about the Shirelles as a group. They have been around since 1963, still around today doing shows. As a matter of fact, got some in August, right?
Yes.
And so if you still want to book them, they're still available to come around the world and actually tour. And you say you have no problem touring, huh?
Oh, I love it.
You love it. What's the most important part about this whole touring thing? Is everybody likes to see, you know, I want to be on stage, I want to go on tour, I want to do this. But it's a lot of work.
It's a lot, you know, getting there and going to the hotel and unpacking and trying to get a quick bite to eat, and then going out for rehearsal and hoping that the band is going to work out right, and going back and trying to get ready and hoping that you're going to really touch lives again. You know, when the audience comes and you hear them clap and you go and out and you feel that love, it's on.
It's on. So for people who want to get in contact with you guys, what do they do and how do they go about finding out more
Oh,
about
they
the
can
show?
reach the Shirelles at queenbeeofcelebrity@gmail.com.
queenbeeofcelebrity@gmail.com.
Amen.
I want you to know it's been an honor having you. Thank you for coming and being with us.
I loved it.
And, you know, since before I was born, you were making music. You're still making music today.
I'm going to continue to. I'm going to be a rockin' granny.
Hey, listen, and writing a book.
Yes.
And telling a story.
And at some point, I want to write a play. I have written a play. I wrote a script for Red Fox one time for Sanford and Son.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
See, the things that we learn. Out of time, but we got to get you back. You come back?
I'd love to.
When the book comes, you
Anytime.
got to come back.
Yes.
And we have to go through chapter by chapter.
Oh, yes.
Some of that drama.
It'll be
Some
wonderful.
of that good stuff. You know, we have all that stuff.
A lot of goodies.
A lot of goodies. Miss Beverly, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
My
God bless.
honor. Thank you so much for being with us. Miss Beverly Lee, original member of the Shirelles, the legend right here, since 1963. And I want to let you know, like from 1960 to 1963, 6 singles in the top 10. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Tours, celebrity, Martin Luther King, you name it, they've done it. Right here with us in the studio. And it's again a privilege and an honor to have you sharing.
Thank you.
Listen, that about wraps it up for us here on Perspectives. Want to let you know that we are here every week on BronxNet Channel 67. For all of us here on the set of Perspectives, myself, producer Curlew Burton, Lindsay, the whole crew, thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe, share your perspective with somebody else. You don't know, it just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care. God bless.
Make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective, which shines a light. Cause it might make